It's a cold morning here in southern Utah, and there's no better way to warm up than with a fire. Fire is a combustion reaction that takes energy stored in these logs and releases it as heat. But where did that energy stored in the log come from? Well, the sun, of course. This stick right here has over 25 rings that I counted. That means for 25 years, this stick was taking in energy from the sun to grow. When I put it in the fire, it releases all that sunlight energy at once. That's why before I put a stick in the fire, I always give it a nice thank you. Thank you, stick. It's always nice to start your day off with a nice plate of flapjacks. But if you're like me, you never know quite when to flip them over. But I learned a little trick. See the bubbles right there? If the batter doesn't fill in the holes created by those bubbles, it's time to flip. Let's take a look. Never mind. Wind and water have eroded these canyons over eons of time. But where does all the eroded sandstone go? The answer is right in front of us. Scree! Made of tiny chunks of sandstone, Scree falls from beneath these mountainsides and flows into these water basins. Even though this whole canyon is made out of sandstone, some of it is red, some of it is orange, some of it is yellow. And the reason for the difference in color is a process called oxidation. Oxidation happens when, I don't really know how it works, but when things come into contact with oxygen, your bananas turn brown, avocados turn brown, apples turn brown, and it's why this rock turned red. But at different times in Earth's history, there was different amounts of oxygen in the atmosphere. The red times were times of high oxygen, and the gray times were times of low oxygen. The high levels of oxygen also contributed to the size of insects around the world. If you look behind me, you'll see trees living inside these rock canyons. And then if you close up on one of the rocks, you can see lichen growing on the surface of these rocks. We've got trees growing on the rocks in the big scale and trees growing on the rocks in the small scale. How many more scales will there be? The lower the layers of the sediment, the further back in time you go. And you can tell a lot about these time periods by what's in the sediment. If we look up here, it's a fairly homogeneous sandstone, just different layers of stone. And if we look down here, there's more pebbles in this layer. So we know just from that this was a more pebbly time period than this time period, conglomerate. Southern Utah's famous accordion-shaped canyons come from the differences between the layers of sediments. Layers of sediments with less resistivity flake off like this and crumble into mud. Layers like this with more resistivity are made of hard sandstone, more resistive. As these ones sloof away, the more resistant ones remain. One of the great things about exploring this part of the country is that the landscape can go from looking like this to looking like this. What differences? The shape of the canyon is always changing. One day, the very rock I'm standing on now will be deposited as scree into the chasm below. Go. These windswept faces are graveyards of freaks, deformed trees bent and twisted over eons of time. Some vanquish in the battle against the cold, and some perish. But in death, there is new life here on the hills. This place really demonstrates the beauty and fragility of Earth's mightiest forces. In this harsh environment, to grow to be a big, strong tree like this, you start out as a little baby diesel tree like this one. Come and see how diesel this tree is. Look at how diesel this baby tree is. Thick, strong, with all these amazing needles. That is a strong baby. This whole hillside is one gigantic riverbed. Dozens of times a year, waters come rushing down this hillside. Yet in all these years, these trees and shrubs withstand flood after flood after flood to grow into the beautiful things you see before you now. But after the water leaves this hillside, where does it go? There, the floodplain of this hill. The water rushes down, meets up with that river, probably meets up with water from over there. I don't know. I'm not from around here, but it goes over there. There's a lot of different cloud types here on the plains today. I don't know what any of them mean, but they're all seem to be here.
Do you remember how to get back?
Yeah. So the thing about hiking is that it's so obvious where to go when you're going up, not as obvious going down. So we're a little bit lost, but it's not a big deal.